All right, fair enough. So Umesh, please come up and introduce our speaker for the evening, and I'm going to transfer the, you can take this off of me.
It's going to cost you, Umesh.
There you go. Thank you so much. Okay. Take it away.
Good evening, everybody. Rarely do you have an opportunity to meet somebody with so many different talents that blend together to produce the product that you're about to witness this evening. Our speaker tonight is a recovered academic. She used to live, work, and breathe in the high tower of university institutions where she was once a department chair, had reached all the way up to that level. And the funny thing is, one day she just kind of didn't know what was going on, and then she had an idea. Her hands went to the keyboard. She typed up a letter. It basically said, "I'm leaving the institution." Did she know what she was going to do next? Not exactly. But as we teach our clients, sometimes it requires that courage to take that leap of faith to get to the next level. She had many experiences in her life that culminated into a moment where she realized she was not being fulfilled in her work. And so she made that move and then found hypnosis and hypnotherapy. The ink had not yet dried on her certificate, and she had already purchased an office because she was serious about turning it into a real profession. There are many hypnotherapists who are hobbyists. She is a bona fide professional. She is qualified to give us a talk on how to create a true business out of hypnotherapy. She's also talented in many other areas, which you will hear about this. I'll just put in a brief plug for our class on Saturday, which she'll tell you more about. And without taking any more time, please allow me to welcome Dr. Kweethai Neill.
Thank you. Such a privilege and honor to be here. I think we're just going to have a conversation tonight. May I ask how many people in the room are full-time practitioners where you make a living? Well, one question at a time. How many of you are practicing full-time? Straight up, please. Please look around the room. 1, 2, 3. Full-time practitioners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many of the full-time practitioners are making a comfortable living? 1, 2, 3. Good. Those who are in practice, very good. This is much better than a few years ago, which was the reason I wrote this book. I was a keynote speaker at the IMDHA convention in Daytona Beach. I had 42 people in my room listening to this little keynote talk I was giving. And there were 2 other people in the room other than me who was in full-time practice. And when I say how many people still standing up are making a living out of your practice, then I was the only person standing. What's wrong with that picture? Hypnotherapy and its practice has been going on for a very long time. We have some, I'm Chinese, we're very respectful of our elders. We have some senior practitioners here. How many of you have been in the business more than 35 years? Straight up. We won't tell your age, but we respect, that. So, and I know that our teachers have been in the business for longer than that. We are here in this room because we know we have something to offer to the world that nobody else has. Yes? If you agree with me, please bang on the table. And how come we are not full-time in practice? How come We are not recognized as professionals in many circles. How come we're not billing as we should bill? So I'm going to share with you some of my stories. So how did I get to write this book? I'm going to, if you indulge me, just read the foreword. You don't have to look in the book. I'm just going to tell you the story. This is my 11th year of full-time practice. As Umesh said, I walk off the academic mountain. One day I decided it just was the wrong mountain. And when my dean said, oh my God, is it money? Can we talk? I said, no ma'am, and no ma'am, I have no idea what I'm going to do next. I just know I have to leave this mountain. And hypnotherapy found me, quite by chance. How many of us walk in this life and know that miracles happen all the time if only we open our eyes to look for them? And when I realized there's such a thing as hypnotherapy, at first I said, how do you even spell the word? Never mind, I had a PhD, I still had to figure out how to spell the word, right? And I read the first 2 books. One was written by Gil Boyne, the other was Dave Ellman's book. 2 thick books, and I thought, wow, this is it. So I found a place to get trained, and 2 weeks before I took my certification exam, I bought my office building. It is not a leap of faith, it was a plunge. In the beginning years of my practice, I knew there was something lacking in my training as a hypnotherapist. At the completion of my basic certification program, I remember my instructor telling us we were on our own and not to call her in the future. I was shocked. I felt alone and naked, having just plunged into a whole new arena of work. It contradicted what I had experienced as an academic. When I passed my doctoral defense, my professor shook my hand, embraced me, and stated proudly, congratulations, Dr. Neill. Welcome to our community of scholars. Wow, what a difference. As an academic, I was warmly invited to become part of an established community. As a hypnotherapist, I was thrown into the world with absolutely no support. How many of us felt that way at some point? Yes. How come? What happened? I had 27 days of intensive training, and I was expected to make a living helping others? Yikes. I knew in my gut there was something fierce missing in that equation, but I could not articulate it at the time. Perhaps my instructor wanted to launch me like a mother bird who kicks her young off the nest. I could fall to the ground and die, or I could flap my wings and take flight. 11 years of successful practice later, I can say I took flight, although it was not entirely easy. I might say that my success was in spite of rather than because of the way I was launched. Over the years, I have been blessed by the generosity of newfound friends, mentors, colleagues who helped me when I screamed for assistance. How many of us can resonate with that? And what would we all be if we didn't have such a community, and how wonderful it is. I didn't have this wonderful community to come to and beg for help. I was all by myself. There are too many to name, but a few stand out. Gil Boyne. How many of you knew Gil? Yes, Gil was my primary mentor. I learned much from him about hypnotherapy, but also benefited from his wisdom related to handling challenges in my life. Now, I got to know Gil when he was 82 years old. And I had the benefit of the best of his years, and we became very good friends. Another very good friend and early savior and colleague was Jerry Brandt. I don't know if any of you knew Jerry. He's a practitioner in California, also a Gilboyne groupie. He was my first partner in a clinical practicum as part of a master class with Gilboyne. And Jerry Brandt was about 6'4" and about, I don't know, a lot of weight, at least twice my weight. And how many of you are familiar with the instant induction? So I got to practice instant induction with Jerry Brandt. I said, oh my God. And I go, sleep now. Pop, this whole big mess plopped on my 5'3" shoulder. And I was so excited. I said, oh my God, it works. And here's Jerry like a big, gigantic lump of Jell-O. And I said, oh my gosh, this is fascinating stuff. Jerry gave me many great suggestions when I asked for help in cases that puzzled me. He was my only friend that I could call upon other than Gil. As a lifelong learner, I have partaken in numerous trainings, as many of you have, some with illustrious teachers, and some with instructors who were not so illustrious. I learned what to do from the former and what not to do from the latter. Whereas basic certification training serves as a good start, there is much, much more to learn in order to be an effective and successful hypnotherapist. Mastery of skills to do good work is critical, but to make a successful living from hypnotherapy requires business acumen. During the time I provided training in my own hypnotherapy school, a prominent feature of my curriculum in coursework was in business. This is something I found lacking in many training programs that focus on getting students certified in the shortest possible time. I have, over the years, encountered many certified practitioners who come to me for help, who can't carry on a successful practice, who lack the confidence of going full-time and investing everything they've got in something they feel in their souls is something enormous. This is something very good that we can offer the world. How is it that we don't trust ourselves enough to put our money where our foot is? Right? After 11 years of full-time practice, I feel I have acquired some useful information to share with hypnotherapy colleagues who wish to build and sustain a successful practice. Success has a different meaning to everyone. I share my idea of success here with you. In broad terms, a successful practice has to be financially viable. That is, your revenue must exceed your expenses, and with some to spare. And spiritually meaningful. I think most of us in this room come to this work because there is a spiritual psychic income that goes beyond the dollar sign. How many of you agree? Right? So I'm singing to the choir. I'm not a very good singer. Okay. And so we actually help our clients feel better. In the pages that follow, I share my insights, experience, and knowledge with you. I include some simple exercises as a call to action to get you on the way to a successful practice. I am not proposing my way as the only road to success. I know of many hypnotherapy colleagues who make more money than I do and sell more products. Others see more clients or teach more students. It is not a contest. I am submitting one point of view, mine. It comes from 11 years of joyful, meaningful, and financially positive hypnotherapy practice. It has been an amazing journey, and I look forward to many more years of serving clients with my best work, adding value and joy to their lives. hypnotherapy is a unique enough field that perhaps it will always require a leap of faith as you get pushed from the safety of the nest. There will, of necessity, always be some furious wing flapping. My intention for this book is to help you catch the wind quickly so you can fly confidently toward the sky. Right, so what's this all about? My qualification in writing the book. My first year of practice, I replaced my university income. And I have, for the last 11 years, successfully brought in six-figure revenues from my practice. This is July. I've already cleared the six-figure mark. If you'd like to know how to do it, it will be my humble service to all of you. And it is possible. And we don't have to do a lot of fancy stuff. We don't have to buy a lot of advertisements. We don't have to say, I can't afford. In fact, I want everybody to say the words, I cannot afford. Say it. Okay, this is the last time in this lifetime you're ever going to use that phrase. Agreed? Do you accept? Accept? Yes. Because I can't afford is not a phrase any hypnotherapist should use. Why is that so? Right. It's limiting, yes. So we talk about what are our limiting beliefs. Now this book is section by section. It came from a new line of work that I do called the I Change Business Therapy. Hypnotherapists and other business people come to me. They stay 4 or 5 days. I spend 2 or 3 days doing therapy work with them to flush out all their fears, to get their poop in a group and the ducks in a row, and find out what really makes your heart sing and your soul want to dance when you do the work you want to do, and be paid for it. My success formula is when somebody pays me to have fun. My success formula is when I own my own calendar. Now this afternoon we had been very fortunate. Your member, Miss Debbie Combs, took us out to lunch, and how lovely. And that's wonderful. So generous. People with generous hearts, without expecting anything in return, will have many-fold of blessings come back to you. Open your arms, accept it. All right. So, how do we do this? Don't you want to know? How do we do this? First of all, I have a very simple business plan. When I opened my business, as soon as my ink got dry, my sign went up, bought this little office unit, renovated, my husband got paint, we slapped paint on it, and now I have Eye Health Center for Integrated Wellness open for business. A friend of mine who's a business consultant who was kind said, Kweethai, do you have a business plan? I can help you. I'll send you the template of my business plan. You're going to do all this stuff. And I said, no, thank you. I've been there, done that. Management by objectives and all that stuff I used to teach, right? I'm going to have a very simple business plan, and I'm going to pass it on to you as my personal gift. Are you ready for this? Say after me, I plan to be very successful, one client at a time. That's all you need to do. So friends ask me, how do you market? Where do you advertise? Blah, blah, blah. I said, you know, I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. Are you ready? When I am ready for the next client, I work one case at a time, one client at a time. And I charge $7,000 when they come to see me. Your life is worth $7,000, isn't it? Somebody called me yesterday, has been in therapy for 3 years. So I said, have you done over 100 sessions with your counselor in the last 3 years? Oh, definitely more than that. 150 sessions, yes. Times $150 a session, right, quick math, $22,250. Plus 300 hours of your life, plus 300 hours driving there and back. You know what? Are you feeling better? Why are you talking to me? Not feeling better. What a deal! I'm only charging $7,000. What a deal! How many of you would like to bill $7,000 a client? You know what? All of you know how to do what I do. Maybe. How the client comes back to you. How did I get to the point where I bill $350 an hour? It came from a few years ago when I was only charging $5,000. Was a deal. A medical doctor and anesthesiologist in a big hospital in Dallas called me who has anger issues. Imagine an anesthesiologist in the OR with anger issues. Not a nice scene. So he calls me and he said, I need you to help me with anger issues. I said, sure. What are your fees? So I said, I require 20-hour commitment payment up front. Cashier's check, please. If you want to charge, you pay the bank. I am not a bank. And he goes, whoa, you charge the same rate as my psychiatrist. I said, oh, really? How much does your psychiatrist charge? He told me, I said, you know, how long have you been seeing your psychiatrist? 3 years. Why are you talking to me now? I said, you know, I have an idea. I should charge more than your psychiatrist because I deliver results. And he said, oh, too much, too expensive. My wife says too expensive. 3 years later, he called back. This time he said, do you remember me? I said, well, I talked to a lot of people, refresh my memory, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I said, you're the one. Thank you so much because now I'm more expensive than your psychiatrist. Thanks to you. And now it is a lot more. And this time he's coming. Why? Because one more anger episode, he loses his job. And it is his boss at the hospital that says, you are seeing the best psychiatrist on our staff and it's not helping you? Better go see a hypnotherapist. So you see, if we think that we should charge less than the mental health people, wrong answer. We should charge more because we do more and we do better. So the first step is to own your work. I'm summarizing what would be a 5-day intensive class with me. Okay. First of all, so when you come, if you come to me for a business therapy package, I have just finished one case. Somebody who is a mathematician, very left brain, read the book, came to me, paid me $10,000, spent 5 days in my office, revamped his business. He's now getting new clients at his new rate, on his new terms, in his new business persona. So a lot of things, if you look at your own practice, if you're not bringing in the kind of clients you want to work with, if you're not bringing in the fees that your good work should bring, it's time to sit down and reassess what is not working. Not ask why is it not working, ask what is not working here. And what are your limiting beliefs? if you've ever said, I can't afford something, which you will never say again after tonight, right? Ask yourself, what is the fear? What is holding me back? What is not working? Because all of you here are certified hypnotherapists, right? And you've had the appropriate training. And if you haven't yet, there are lots of good places I hear you can go and learn it on steroids or otherwise. Find something that is true to your heart. When a client comes to see me, I tell the client, you're buying 20 hours of my life. And $7,000 is not enough. When I spend the 20 hours with you, I put my life on hold to help you get your poop in the group. Right? It's the poop that messes up your life, right? So we have to help you get your poop in a group. So nothing else happens during the 20 hours of engagement. And I don't do it over 20 sessions, 4 days. First day is one long day with me. My shortest one-day session is 6 hours. My longest is 16 hours. Nobody leaves my office without a change. They even look different. After that, I teach them how to navigate their life. This is a part where basic hypnotherapy training does not address. This is part of my health education training. I'm also a certified, I'm a qualified mediator in the state of Texas. I teach people how to negotiate. I can mediate cases in Texas. And so I teach people how to communicate. So the hypnosis, my process is called the I Change process. It's a 3-section thing. Right? The first thing is, what we have that mental health professionals don't have, I tell people, you can be in counseling forever and figure out 10 good reasons why you hate your mother. I literally have a medical doctor come to me after 5 years, of therapy. She came to my office. I said, why me? Why now? What did you learn in 5 years of therapy? And how much of that money do you want to give me? And she said, I have learned to be a very good analyst. It still doesn't help me feel better. I said, well, that's because you're using the wrong tool. You cannot use reason to solve an emotional problem. It's like measuring temperature with a ruler. It's wrong tool. So how many of us have ever felt sad if we've lost somebody we love, and then somebody come to say, oh, he's in a better place. You don't have to feel so bad. And they give you 10 good reasons why you shouldn't cry because your grandmother died. Does it make you feel any better? Not one lick. And as a professor, when I was teaching a communication skills course in the university, one time my brother died. I got a call from London. My brother died 10 hours prior. And I have to teach an 8 o'clock class. And my colleague said, Kweethai, go home. I said, what am I going to do at home? 2 days ago, my brother called me to say goodbye. He knew he was going to die. He had cancer. 44 years old, top in his field. He was a neonatal specialist. And he said, don't come now. I said, I'll get on the next plane. He said, don't come now. Come when everything is over. Come and spend some time with my wife. She will need you. I said, okay. He died in February. So I said, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit here and do nothing. So I decided not to accept my colleague's offer to cover my class. I decided I would dedicate that class into the memory of my brother and teach the best class I could that day. So I came into class. And I said, class, if I'm a bit distracted, please forgive me. You see, my brother just died 10 hours ago. So I took a deep breath and started teaching. Sometime during the week, word got back to me. Dr. Neill is such a heartless bitch. Cold, heartless. She just comes into class, announces her brother had died, and then taught class as if nothing has happened. What's wrong with that picture? I realize how inadequately educated our students are in dealing with emotions, in appreciating that people grieve differently, in having no words to console somebody who is grieving, in having no voice. All right? From the energetic point of view, I'm saying your throat chakra is blocked. You have no words to express what you feel here. So I know that the work I do, I pull all these things together. So the hypnosis part, I'll tell my client, I said, okay, this is what we do. You've been in counseling forever and ever, okay? You can carry on if you like, but you know, in the time I'm working with you, I'm going to ask you to please hold off a meeting with your counselor. I only need 5 days or 4 days of your time. You come to my office, I expand your mind, don't get it shrunk when you go home. Totally different modalities, right? So come and let me expand your mind and show you different perspectives. I cannot change what has happened to you in the past, but I can change the way you perceive your experiences so you stop suffering. Right? I work with many people who are victims of incest. By the way, at the HypnoThoughts, I'm doing one-day pre-conference called Using the Orgasm as a Tool for Healing. It's a very powerful thing, human emotions. So when you work with people who have gone through such horrible experiences and post-traumatic stress and so on and so forth, people say, in fact, my first instructor, whose name I shall not mention, who says, you graduate, don't call me, you're on your own. She does not believe in leading a client to react to a previous. That is the bridge for change, folks. Agreed? Yes. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. I'm in the company of people in the know. Oh, you shouldn't have to get the poor woman to go through rape again. I said, nobody's raping her. You know, I'm not touching her. She's not touching her. And he's dead. How do you help somebody like that heal? Only through hypnosis. No conventional therapy can even begin to touch it. Because until, I have a process called soul retrieval. And until you lead the client back to that place where in that moment her innocence, that piece of her soul was taken from her, until she recovers that piece of her soul, she will forever be holy. In my yellow book, I talk about my Swiss cheese theory. You come in, you're full of holes, because in all the time you relate with a lot of people, every time something doesn't work, somebody steals a chunk of your soul from you. By the time your client is sitting in front of you, she's one holy piece of cheese, right? Full of HOLES. Our job is to help her retrieve those pieces to plug the hole so that she can be whole again with a W in front of it. So only through hypnosis can we lead people through such powerful experiences of healing. So tell me, give me one good reason why we shouldn't charge more than any of the mental health modality out there. Are those in agreement? So how is it that we can get to that place? Well, I'm a professional educator. We have to educate people, right? Little pamphlets going out, every little bit counts. We have to teach people, this is not woo-woo stuff. I don't grow horns and a tail between my legs, right? This is not woo-woo stuff. This stuff is real. when I can get a woman who's suffering from IBS for 40 years, in the first long session, her gut motility ceased. She walked out of my office and said, I can't believe it. And she went out to eat. She hadn't eaten a real meal in years. And her husband flipped out. She actually ate a meal of hamburgers and fries. She actually gained 5 pounds after the first 2 weeks, when the woman was standing at 5'9", 107 pounds. Now tell me how that happens. So here's the interesting thing, because I come from the world of academia. Now my friends in academia sees my book and talk to me, Kweethai, you should do an evaluative process. You should prove this. You should study this. You should evaluate this. I said, that would be your job. You know, honestly, I don't care. I don't have to prove it to anybody, just talk to my client. My clients leave my office changed and happy. That's all I care about. I don't have enough life in this lifetime to go prove anything to anybody. You want to feel better? You come see me. You want to dance around for a long time and pay a little bit at a time? There are many people out there you can see. So when we stick to the piece, then we will have people come to us by word of mouth. We talk about old-fashioned business, all right? Now, we have to live in today's world. What is helpful when I work with my business therapy client is, first, and most important part, is to make sure your intentions are pure, right? Look inside. Your eyeballs are all in the wrong places. Turn your eyeballs inside and look inside and see what's not working for you. Get your own stuff cleared and be a clean vessel for spirit to flow through. I'm glad to hear people are spiritual. Yes? If you have an unclean vessel, you have spirit coming through, you mess it up. All right? So if you mess it up, you should be paying your clients, not the other way around, right? Right. So that is a very first big piece which I talk about in a section there. Find your original story. What moved you? Everybody has an original story. What moved you to be doing what you're doing? We didn't wake up at 5 years old and say, I'm going to grow up to be a hypnotherapist, although now I'd like to see more children doing that, right? My granddaughter comes to my therapy room and she sits in my little chair and she says, close your eyes. Right? So we have to know what we're doing, number one. It's very simple, right? We are in this business. We are dead serious about our business. If you're going to spend any moment of your life doing something like this, make it count. Make it matter. So you figure that out. Yes, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and nothing else will do. It has to be a no matter what kind of deal. If you want to be really good at this. Yes?
I have a question related to what you just said.
Yes.
I've had several clients recently come to me because they can't figure out what their passion is.
Yes.
They're just kind of empty.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if you've had anyone come to you with that request.
Yes.
I just have no clue.
Yes.
What has been your experience?
Yes. Yes. Most people come to me because they have no clue. So my process is this. In your first long day with me, or anyone who comes to me about anything, first I have a 4-page intake document which I ask you some very detailed questions, and then you come in. The first long day I even feed you. I used to own a cooking school, so you get a very good meal. All right, so nobody leaves the center. You come in and all day with me, and we're now in a room, very comfortable, and now we're talking, having a conversation just like here, you and me, talking. Now, what I explain to my client is this. This is how I work, and actually tonight I'm going to do a clinical demonstration if you let me. The easiest way to teach is to show you what I do. I would talk to you very intensely. 10% of my energy is focused on listening to what you're telling me. That's what I call my intuitive interview, which I've done classes in. 10% of my energy, I'm talking to you, asking you a question, you respond to me, we're in beta consciousness. 90% of my energy is in alpha consciousness, where I am listening to what you're not telling me while you're telling me what you're telling me. At some point, some people will give me all kinds of names. Is that NLP? Is that pattern interrupt? I say, I don't know. I don't care about labels. At some point, when I sense an energy shift, I would stop you in mid-sentence. I say, stop. Tell me again what you just said. Because the person's energy has shifted. And I go right through. This is hypnotherapy on steroids, folks. This is energy medicine, which I will teach a full class on Saturday if you so like to join me. And in that instant, we'll go right in and something would happen. The client is already in trance. Now, in May, I taught a class at IMDHA called Trance with No Induction. I bypass all induction techniques, jump right to it. I don't have to, do this, do that, close your eyes, do this, do that. All my work is done in open eye trance. Most of my work is done in open eye trance. So in that moment, we'll flush it out. On page 70 in my yellow book, I have a tool which I've devised called the anatomy of, do I have a pencil here? I don't have a drawing tool. It's called the anatomy of fear. So imagine, you don't have to look at the book, imagine a piece of paper, all right? And imagine on the top I draw a little black cloud. That's a little quantum of fear. So this is what I call anger. That energy is inside you. It's like an itch you know you have, but you don't know where to scratch it, right? And then guess what? You have one nerve left and somebody walks in and wham, you bite. What happened there? Because that fear has been traveling around in your consciousness, and when one split moment something spurs it on, out comes the snakes. If you have been given permission to voice it, you scream, you yell in anger. Or if you have been trained to swallow your anger, the snakes come right up to the back of your teeth, you swallow it, guess where the snakes go? It goes inside you and it bites you. So, now, the second row is, if you walk around with a lot of fears, let me just show you the picture here. Okay, everybody can see this? So the second row, I have a lot more dark clouds. So a lot of people walk around with a lot of fears. It's like walking on eggshells all the time. It's what I call anxiety. I explained this. This book I wrote as a tool for the layperson, or for you to explain it to a professional, or for you to explain it to a client. So anyway, a lot of fears. Person is anxious, all right? Now there are days where a person walks around with more fears. There are more days that look like that than not. I call it depression. It has nothing to do with the psychology people. Depression for me is when a person has so much fear energy in her consciousness. And I use the female pronoun because the word he is in the word she. I'm just being inclusive. That there is a spectrum of behaviors. On the one end, a person who has so much fears and is depressed, I don't want to engage in the world. Cover me up with a blanket. I don't want to get out of bed. Despondent. On the other side, a person is so hyperactive. You know, the kind of people who work in their offices day in, day out, you think they're going to get a medal? They're really avoiding themselves. I had one client who's so scared of being alone, she took 3 shifts in 2 hospitals. She's a nurse. So I asked, what are you running away from? Anytime I have a client who come in who is a workaholic, my first question is, what are you running away from? You nail it right there. So when you understand this anatomy of fear, it underscores all of the client's problems. Now, in my intake form, I have all these columns. They can check off all their little problems, you know, pain, anger, anxiety, blah, blah, blah. And then I have the third column, half of it is blank, so they can be creative about describing their problems. I had a woman came in some years ago. She filled in everything, turned the page over, and gave me 3 more columns. And then she sat there and almost in tears looked at me. Does this mean I'm going to be here for a long time? I said, no, ma'am, because I have your source code. It doesn't matter if you give me 10 pages. Because the underscoring energy in all of your clients is really as simple as this. All right? Anything and everything that is wrong with your client is due to one big 4-letter word. And it is called fear. If I tell my client they come in all kinds of anxieties and what have you, I say, can you imagine life with no fear? Can you imagine life with no fear?
Roosevelt said, there's nothing to fear but fear itself.
Thank you. There is nothing to fear but fear itself. So if we can, and here's when I believe that you cannot create nor destroy energy. That's law of physics, right? So what do? We transform it, we transmute it. Don't tell them I'm going to take it away because nature abhors a vacuum. If I take your smoking habit away, something else is going to take its place. True? Right? If you're not going to beat your children, you're going to beat your wife. I'm picking on the guys. All right. Here is the lower piece where the clouds are so thick, so very thick, that there is no light coming through. See, even the depressed people have little spots where the sunshine can come through, but when somebody walks in total fear, day in and day out, it's what I call despair. These are the people who will self-destruct. These are the people who would do things like Columbine and Virginia Tech. These are the people who are so scared that it turns into such anger that the only way they can find any bits of peace is to destroy themselves and others. How many of you work with people about to kill themselves? Right. So, you know, when a person is in such despair, it's a sad state of affairs for us as a society. Nobody should feel so alone. Nobody should feel so alone. So, what we do in this business, then you have to find that passion. Gil Boyne used to say, you got to find that fire in the belly. Got to find that fire in the belly. Got to find that passion that you want to do this work so badly that it hurts. This has got to be a no matter what stuff. Chinese people believe if you love what you do, you never have to work. I don't consider this work because it's meaningful, it's joyful, and nothing is so gratifying as to see somebody whose life has changed. I just finished a case 2 weeks ago. A gentleman came in from New Jersey. I worked with him for 4 days. 68 years old, PTSD. And he said, I never could imagine that I could feel this way again. 67 years. His PTSD was from young childhood. And he said, I dumped 67 years of fears. I said, wow, and you've been carrying it around. Isn't it nice to be free? Isn't it nice to walk in love and not in fear? I mean, this guy was in so much fear, it's not funny. His house has a steel door. He told me how many guns he has. He told me how many, months of provisions he has. He's so paranoid, he doesn't believe in banks. He has a fortune of silver bullion sitting in his house. It's not funny. Can you imagine being so scared, afraid of your own shadow? So our work is liberating. It sets people free from their problems. Now, the next thing is the business side of this. It's very important. First, you have to look at who is going to pay your bills. All right? So many of us who do healing work feel guilty about charging money. How many of us have experienced feeling guilty about charging? Oh, we should just give it away. I'll tell you what, your utility company is not going to give you free utility if you don't pay your bill. So everybody say after me, my work is worth it.
My work is worth it.
And I'm going to give value.
I'm going to give value.
So much that they will pay and smile. And say, I am worth it.
I am worth it.
Okay, everybody write down on a piece of paper somewhere what your hourly rate is. I have bits of paper here, people. Write down somewhere what your hourly rate should be. What you're worth today. Okay. All right, let's shout out some numbers. Yes, sir? 300. 300. 350. 100. 300. 125. What kind of chair are they sitting in when they see you? 125. My clients sit on a $5,000 leather couch. Are you willing to buy a leather couch for your client to feel good to write you a big check? Okay, you don't have to buy it new, don't look so surprised. You have to go to, you can buy it on eBay, but it better be a nice couch. All right, I talk about all that. It has to be the whole package. All right? In marketing, I'm shortcutting some of these things because I'm just going to give you snippets of some things to consider. All right? Imagine yourself as your client. I have a chapter called First Look in the Mirror. Imagine yourself as a client. Whatever fee you want to charge, ask yourself, will you pay this person X dollars an hour to consult with you on your innermost secrets and your most private problems? As you walk into this individual's office, look around the neighborhood, look around the ambience of the office, look around the person's personal hygiene. There's nothing worse than sitting close to a hypnotherapist who stinks. I kid you not. Look about the cleanliness of your office. Look about all the things that say, who are you? I'm not asking you to be arrogant, and please, I'm not being arrogant about this. I'm just being truthful about this. Say it for what it is the shortest distance. Because our work is about teaching the client how to find their truth and how to speak their truth. So the hypnotherapy piece, dig them out of their fears. You help them convert. Now they're new. You know, people get into trouble because of a cumulative series of poor choices, yes? But if you don't teach them new skills, it's only geography. You can sell them a season pass. They'll be back. I do not want to see my clients again when I'm done with them. Unless circumstances change and they want to have help to do something else. When I'm done, they're done. I tell them I'm not AA, and you do not have to stand up and say I'm a recovering scaredy cat. And you don't say I'm trying to quit smoking. You are done. You are recovered or you're not. And you're not is your fault, not mine. Because there's no such thing as somebody who cannot be hypnotized. I say it's not about ability, and this is where it is very important that we have convincing language. The way we can compel our clients to believe in the things we want them to believe, it is an argument. Persuasion is a compelling argument. You have to be able to convince them that this is the right thing to do. And for me, that first long day is to teach them what a big fat liar they've been to themselves. People say, oh, they pay you all this money to tell them they're a liar. I say, yeah. And when it is challenging and they're not willing, that's when I do energy work and I literally beat it out of them and punch. Fastest way to do it, right? Otherwise, they'll be here for 10 years. I am bored. I do not want to see you for 10 years. Thank you very much. Right? I want to see interesting new cases and learn from it. And then go out in the streets, people say, hi. They come and give me a big hug. That's the bonus, folks. That's the bonus. So the work you do, here are a couple things. Number one, find your story. And then look inside yourself to see what of your skills are unique to you. When I was doing hypnotherapy training for the beginning practitioners, I don't do that anymore. I only teach master classes now. I tell them, I say, I don't want you to be a Kweethai clone. I want you to be your own practitioner. Come, let me teach you the basics. Then I want you to go inside yourself and look at what landscape of experiences you bring to the table and make it your own practice. Because people come to you because you have a specific set of qualities that resonate with them. Right? Not everybody want to come and see me. And goodness, somebody once said, oh, I can get your SEO up so that you have 100,000 hits. I said, good Lord. What would I do with 100,000 hits? I don't do that. I don't even see 10 clients a month. I don't have the time. All right? $7,000 a client, 4 clients is all I want to work. The rest I go play. Otherwise, I won't be able to come here and play with you, see? All right. So, get those ducks in a row. And then decide for yourself. I know that in hypnotherapy school, they teach you have packages or you sell single sessions. I don't do single sessions. I tell my clients I don't do single sessions. I don't do trial sessions. If it is a child, I would do an assessment session. It's $700 for 2 hours. And I will tell you whether or not it's suitable modality. And I'll do a very thorough assessment. And in the 2 hours, I will interview the child, I will interview the parents, and grandparents if necessary, depending who the child's caregiver is. In that 2 hours at the end, I will determine whether or not I want to work with your child. Other than that, my first phone call to me, I don't charge. I'll talk to you as long as you need to, but as soon as you come in the office, we do the paperwork, cashier's check, then we go to work. There is no refund. The reason I do that is because as soon as all the business is done, I can dedicate all of my time into helping the client. I don't have to worry about whether or not you're going to pay me at the end of the day. I have in this red book a little story called Lessons from a Roll of Toilet Paper. A very short version of the story. Long time ago, when I was new in practice, I was in an office row of offices, and a neighbor lady came to me for help. She has no money to pay me. I said, it's okay, I'll help you. I was desperate for a client. I was new. I figured if I don't take her, I won't have a client. See, I was new. What did I know? We've all been there and done that, right? So she ran up a bill, and I said, it's okay. Just pay me something every week. And she started giving me a $25 check once a week. After 2 or 3 checks, she says, Kweethai, I just can't do it. Don't have any money. Now, when I worked with her, I gave her my best work. So I said, okay. I said, I'll tell you what. You must keep the energy coming. I don't care if you bring me $1. Bring me $1 a week. But you must pay for this work. So the same week she told me she has no money, she went to a mutual friend who was doing one of these like Tupperware parties, except they sell clothes. So my friend Joy told me, oh, Kweethai, thanks for introducing me to your friend and client. She came by, she was my best customer that night. She bought $350 worth of clothes and she paid cash. In that instant, I felt like a piece of used toilet paper. And I was upset, I was angry, so I called a good friend, and my friend said, Kweethai, I'm going to ask you a question, and you're not going to like it. She says, which part of that responsibility do you bear? She is a very good friend. So I said, okay, I'm going to meditate on this. So I went home and sat in my bathtub for 20 minutes, figured it out in the first 15. The other 5 is to wash away the dirt. And I figured it out. So after I was done with the bath, I went back to the office, I took her folder, and I burned it. I chalk it up to, I call it School of Business expense. That's my lesson from being a roll of used toilet paper. So we learn a lot of things. So as we grow, and we're always learning, figure out what suits you. See your clients on your terms, not on theirs.
Amen.
Thank you. See your clients on your terms. Because sometimes a client come in, I had a medical doctor came in with 3 folders, kid you not. The one who got me to set fee higher than psychiatrists. He brought his medical portfolio and said, here's my, I said, what do you want me to do with it? He says, it's for you to review. I said, that will cost you extra because I will charge you my hourly rate to read this. And you know what? I'm not qualified to review medical files. I'm not an MD. I can read very well, and I'm a researcher. I'll give you a research review, but I cannot give you a medical review. And so he says, don't you want to see it? I said, nope. And I don't even want to hear all of your problems. So how about that? I said, tell me what's not working out for you and tell me how do you want to feel, and let's go get on with business. Otherwise, you'll be here for 5 years. Okay, so having done all that, then you have to figure out how you want to market this. And a very simple clue is, folks, we are very high trust business. Make yourself available in public. Just like somebody say you're going to give talk in hypnosis, you have to build a reputation, you have to build credibility. Some of us have academic credentials, then use them. And if you don't, it's okay, use your skills. Because it's not required that you have academic credentials to be a very good hypnotherapist. I learned from the best who never went to college. My mentor was Gilboyne. So here's The thing then, you set up your shop. You know, you want to be like a spider, right? You got to spin your web. You got to set up shop. You got to look good. You got to have good skills. You got to have nice cards. And please do not go to Vistaprint and print free cards at the back. It says free from Vistaprint.com. For goodness sakes, if you don't even invest $20 to print your cards, don't go there. Don't ask your client for money. Right? So ask yourself, who do you want to attract into your business? And you know what? Somehow, your energy that you put out there will bring the energy to your office. You will attract certain kinds of clients who will come to you simply because you are you. Yes, sir.
May I give a brief little testimony from a letter I got from a governor who's in New York? I wrote him on the 13th of September 2001. Letter of condolence, sympathy, and prayer for the heroes that tried to save lives and those that perished. Anyway, he writes back and he says, Dear Patrick K. Moran, thank you for the laminated American flag, prayers, and information. I truly enjoyed receiving it. However, the tragedies that occurred in New York, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. last September 11th are extremely difficult to understand. The forces of evil that committed these cowardly acts have caused pain that will last for generations. Pain that has claimed the lives of innocent men, women, and children. But evil never prevails. Freedom, despite its vulnerability, will always prevail. Our spirit is strong and our resolve is unshakable. Make no mistake about it, we will not just survive this disaster, nor will we simply overcome it. We, people of New York, will unite in strength, unity, and love, and will overcome these cowardly acts of mass murder. The outpouring of prayer, love, and support from caring people like you has simply been overwhelming. I, along with all New Yorkers, am deeply touched by your compassion and will never forget it. May God bless you. May God bless the people of New York. And may God bless America. Very truly yours, Georgie Tackey, Governor of the State of New York.
Thank you for sharing. Okay. So, figure that out. Intentions are critical. Good intentions before, during, and after. It has to flow through. Your clients need to feel you, your energy. They need to trust you. So you got to figure that out. Now the business side of the practice, you know, the first big piece is get your stuff together, right? Get your stuff together. Now you have to do the business stuff, figure out what you need to live on, because you are going to do this full time or don't do it. Go all the way or don't do it. This is not a hobby. Hobby is for people to pay to play. You play golf, you have to pay the golf course. You know, there are people who practice hypnotherapy part-time and they use income from another source to subsidize hypnotherapy. Right? If you want to be paid for your services, ask to be paid for your services, but make sure your services are worth the money you ask for. Give them more than they pay for. Right. Then the business part of it, you want to organize it. You want to have the right place. You want to have the right placement. And I go through all the P's in marketing in there. And you want to make sure who you want to draw into your office. You don't have to see everybody the cat drags in. Yes? Amen. You don't have to. You go there and you are in charge and you see clients on your terms. And trust that if your intentions are good, the universe will bring you the right clients. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next thing I want to share with you. So I have spent many years doing the hypnotherapy. But on the parallel side, I have been studying energy medicine. Some of you may know it as Qigong. Some of you may know it as energy medicine, and it is Chinese in origin, but other ancient cultures also practice it. So I have learned from different people. I learned how to dowse using the Kabbalah, believe it or not. And I learned my first feng shui practice, I learned from a shaman, and then from Grandmaster Lin Yun, who's passed on now. And I have continued to study Qigong and practice Qigong in many different ways. So about the beginning of this year, I was about to decide to retire because my financial planner tells me I can. And so I went to this Qigong conference, and I'm cutting a very long story very short, and I met the 7th incarnation of the present Dalai Lama's teacher. And this monk bumped his forehead onto my forehead twice as a mark of greeting. And that night, we do very long meditation sits, and he came into my consciousness. So I said, hey, what is this bumping my head twice? And he said, oh, you know. And I went on to reflect on it, and I realized that I couldn't retire. I can play the rest of my life, but I couldn't retire from this work because I have learned to accept that this work is not a job. It's a vocation, meaning it's a calling of my soul. That there is a gift and a responsibility, so that my work is to combine energy medicine and hypnotherapy and take it to a whole new level. Now this Saturday, if you so choose to join me, I will teach a one-day class on energy medicine meets hypnotherapy. I've also DVDs of work I have done using the work, but in a little bit I'm going to show you how, if you think hypnotherapy is good stuff, wait till you see what we do with it when we mix the two and take it to a whole new level. So I know that there is a lot of work to be done. I can't retire, that it is my responsibility to share it. If I don't teach it, it will die with me. A lot of this work that I do, I didn't learn from my early teachers. It came to me through 11 years of full-time practice. And it just evolved over the years. And I know that it has reached a critical mass enough that I can teach it. So the I Change therapy process involves hypnosis to help the client get unchained, to get out of the fears. The second portion is what I call life enhancement training. It is basically a set of communication skills that I teach the clients. This October, in my own premises in Roanoke, Texas, I'm teaching a masterclass intensive where we do 50 hours in 5 days. We do 12-hour days training. And it's called the language of change, where I teach you some of the negotiation language I use to help clients arrive at their truth faster than you can. I adopted the title of Chief Catalyst for Change because in a chemical equation, a catalyst is the substance you put in the equation to accelerate the equation, and she leaves it unchanged at the end of the equation. That's precisely what we do. I tell people, everybody can be a millionaire if you make $1 a year and you live 1,000,000 years. And you can try self-hypnosis and help yourself change. And it might take you a long time, but I can do it in 20 hours. The choice is yours. Okay, so then the third part of the work is feng shui. I help the client redesign environments where energy flows to support the new change. It's just fascinating. I tell you, I haven't published that series of manuscript yet. I have a whole series. I took the lessons from toilet paper to put in this book. I have a lot of lessons from things. God delivers faster than FedEx. One day I had no clients, and I said to God, hey, you know, how about some clients? Knock, knock, within an hour, client shows up. Prayer works. Doesn't matter who you call God, prayer works. I don't care what religion you come from. Also, this book I wrote for helping some of us practitioners to have the language to explain some of the things we do clearly to other professionals. And to also, how many of you have clients ask you about your religion and your spiritual beliefs? Yes, and what is your response when they ask if you believe in God?
I believe in a higher power.
Okay.
Whatever it is.
I tell them, I require that you believe in God. If you don't, it's going to cost you more. Because a man with no God is full of himself, and it's a lot more work. Whether you spell it forward or backwards is still a good word, right? Those of us who love dogs. Okay. In here, I once had a client ask me, Kweethai, can I ask you a question? I said, go ahead. What is your relationship with Jesus Christ? That's a good question. And here's a simple answer. I have his direct line. Would you like his number? So we have to also get our own spirituality and our beliefs in a higher power in such a place where we can dance around it and explain it in many different ways so that the client can understand that it is through this belief in something bigger and outside and inside ourselves, and God can be inside ourselves, to believe in that energy, that force, that intelligence, so that it can help us transform faster. It really is faster if you believe. My Qigong master told me, if you believe it works, it works. If you don't believe it works, it still works. Only takes a bit longer because the work works. And that is the main thing. Let's see, what else can I share with you? All right, so now I'm going to take a few minutes to show you how this energy magic works. Is there someone in the room who would like to be a volunteer who has an issue? Come on up. Now this is the, no. No, stand. Stand here, please, yes. It's fine, he's going to mic you first. Do we have any dowsers in the room? Hmm?
He hasn't said what his issue is.
Okay, dowsers. Yes, you're a dowser?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Here's my belief in order to do the energy work, okay? He's got a physical body, right?
Not a great one.
Okay. Say, I have a great body.
I have a great body.
Everybody gives him an applause. I did not hear you. Say it again.
I have a great body.
And what's your name?
Pardon me?
What's your name?
I'm Thomas.
Say, I'm Thomas and I have a fabulous body.
I am Thomas and I have a fabulous body.
Very good. So this is the physical body. Now we have Qi, which is our life force. Yes, everybody heard of the term Qi. I just used the Chinese word Qi. And it's inside us and it's outside us. And you know how sometimes you meet somebody, they don't even touch you, you walk away from a meeting and you feel like all the energy is sucked out of you? Well, they're Qi suckers. Qi suckers. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to measure his Qi, okay? Most of the time, if you're healthy and nothing's going on, you would have an elliptical electromagnetic force that's as big as the tip of your fingers. And it doesn't matter if you have long arms or not, it's relative to your body. Okay, so may I? Do you want to turn that backlight off, the projector? Right. Okay, so we're going to see where Thomas' energy field is. All right, his field stops here when it should be here. Don't be scared, I can fix anything. Okay, so it's here. It could be that he's tired, it could be he's anxious about something, it could be anything, because it should be here, but it's here. All right? Now, I'm not going to fix you, I'm going to teach you how to fix yourself. Close your eyes. Okay? You don't have to share it with your friends. Take yourself to a place where you feel very happy. So happy your heart wants to sing. Happy, happy thoughts. And when you're there, just smile. Open your eyes and smile. You don't have to tell us what it is. We don't want to know. Ready? Smile? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Right, see? By the power of his own mind, he's expanded his field from here to here. Now, if you don't believe me, think about something you're really mad about. Open your eyes and give us a growl. Are you there?
Yes.
See? Now clear your mind. We don't want to leave it there. Psst. Clear your mind. Go back to a happy place.
Okay.
Right? Now, to show you the power of prayer, I want all of you to send him love on the count of 3. And you stay in your happy place. Right? Okay. You've got all these wonderful friends here. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Project love onto Thomas. You can open your eyes and still send love to him. Just say nice things to him. Think nice thoughts about him. What a wonderful guy. All right? Now, I'm not going to walk through the wall. I'm going to stand here and project. 1 foot, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 feet from me, you've expanded his energy field. See how powerful you are? Now, tell me what's your issue.
Clutter, letting go of things.
Okay. All right, so what would you like to do with the clutter? Now you can sit down. Here.
I'd use the word prioritize to say this is truly important, this is garbage.
Uh-huh. So my first question to the client is, state your problem. I have a problem with?
I'll say simplicity.
Do you have a problem with simplicity, or do you have a problem with non-simplicity?
I have to say both.
So, class, what's the client saying?
There's a problem with non-simplicity.
Yeah, right.
Well, what did you hear? I want you to say it again. Tell us what's your concern.
He doesn't know.
Yeah, well, no, it's a matter of prioritization. I can get 2 things and I, paralysis by analysis. I think so hard, well, maybe there is value in this thing, that I keep something that really has no value because I've created a belief system, maybe this is still worth something. Okay. Something that might be broken, something that is antiquated, obsolete, the broken wire, the record player that doesn't have a turntable. But there's hope for it, you know?
Okay.
He's stuck with attachments.
Okay, he's
Yes.
stuck with attachment. Anybody else? All these analysts here, come on.
He didn't answer your question of what's he going to do with it. He still has not addressed that.
Okay, we can hold on to that question. I asked him to state his problem, okay? I asked him to state his problem. Did he state his problem? No. Okay, so how do you help a client state his problem? All right, tell me, which part of your house holds the most number of things?
I would say my living room.
Your living room, okay. Imagine your living room, if it only has the things that serve your soul's purpose and everything else is irrelevant,
Okay.
how many items would remain?
Perhaps 100, but they're books, so it would be just neat and organized.
Okay. All right, folks, here's the shortcut. Okay. So what is his problem? Page 70 in my book, Big Clue. Fear. Fear, yes. Fear. So when a person is doubtful, yes, you're not sure, right?
Yes.
In this instance, it manifests in his inability to make decisions. And therefore, he defaults to keeping it, right?
Yes.
And so he keeps everything because he's afraid to give it away. All right? Pick one item in your living room
Okay.
and tell us what it is.
Old newspapers.
Old newspapers. Okay, how big is this pile of old newspapers? Now, folks, he's going to come back next meeting and report to you what's going to happen to the old newspapers.
Okay, I probably have like 2 boxes. Some I haven't even.
Okay, 2 boxes of old newspapers. Now, say after me, I'm afraid if I let go of these boxes,
I'm afraid if I let go of these boxes,
fill in the blank.
I'll lose something.
And what would you lose?
I'm not sure.
Okay, and imagine if you were sure, what would you lose?
I would probably lose knowledge that I could find somewhere else.
Okay, and if you lose this knowledge that you may find somewhere else, what are you afraid of?
Nothing.
And if you're afraid of nothing, what are you keeping the newspapers for?
Because I don't know that I'd have that knowledge readily available.
So I'm going to tell you that this knowledge, okay, watch what just happened. How many of you familiar with Gil Boyne's work? What did I just do? What did I just do? I just used a Gestalt sentence. I just used a Gestalt sentence. Okay, let's go back to this newspaper pile. Imagine it's here,
Sure.
okay? Okay, imagine the pile of newspapers sitting right there, and it's attached to you by strings,
Okay.
okay? All right, close your eyes. Pair of scissors there. It's in your power to let go of the newspapers.
Okay.
How does it feel?
Like it. Imagine an airplane, the window opens and the thing gets sucked out by
Okay,
the.
close your eyes.
Okay.
Which part of your body is feeling this energy that's not comfortable?
None.
Pardon?
It was sucked away. It's gone.
It's gone. So the fear is gone. Focus. Close your eyes. Too many eyes looking at you. Close your eyes.
Okay.
Okay? Newspapers in front of you.
Okay.
Okay? Scissors in your hand. Do you wish to disconnect with the newspaper, yes or no?
Yes.
And say after me, when I disconnect from these newspapers,
When I disconnect from these newspapers,
I will
I will.
fill in the blank.
I won't really lose anything.
That's right. And say, when I disconnect from the newspaper,
When I disconnect from the newspapers,
I am,
I am
fill in the blank.
not really losing anything.
And when I'm not losing anything, I feel.
Happy.
So tell me again, are you happy to let go of the newspapers?
Yes.
Are you sure?
There's still there might be something.
Okay,
in there.
where is that something? Where is that something?
Love of knowledge.
Okay. It's not love of knowledge. It is fear of the newspaper going away and you lose something.
Okay.
Okay? Straddle the chair.
Let me turn around back.
Yes.
Facing them or
Yes.
facing the wall?
Facing sideways.
All right.
Close your eyes. Breathe. Feel that spasm muscle there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As a male character in your life, very close to you, and you're carrying his energy. Who is this? Somebody you're very concerned about.
I don't connect.
You don't connect.
No.
Do you feel that?
I feel the lump, yes.
Yes. Does anybody want to touch this? (8:30), right? I've got 10 minutes. Yes. You want to feel this? Strip right there. Can you feel it? It's hard. Okay. All right. Okay. In view of time, I can't explain all the stuff, but there is a piece of energy there. When the energy is not flowing in us, in time, it becomes somatic, and it manifests in a sparse piece of muscle there. So
You've touched it several times. It feels like a knot or a,
right, it's a knot right there.
or like if you will, a cyst, like
Right.
like
All
there's
right.
a scar tissue or something.
Okay, so may I have your permission to touch?
Of
To
course.
punch you? Close your eyes. So a lot of times when it's so stuck and I don't have time to process, this is a shortcut. Slippery. You breathe with me, take a deep breath. It's right there, right?
Yes.
Feel it?
Yes.
Release it. Still there. Softer. You feel it? Okay, so there's a big piece of muscle there, and close your eyes. Deep breath. Okay, now I want you to imagine cutting loose the newspapers.
Okay.
How do you feel?
Less burdened.
Less burdened. Tell the camera.
Okay. I feel less burdened, like I've let go of something and it didn't matter.
Okay, so here's the shortcut. Don't have time to process. Don't care who it is. Don't know what it is. Don't care. Get rid of it. So if he was in my office and we have the luxury of 20 hours to process, we'll be able to specifically figure out what it is. Sometimes verbal processing does not bring out the deeper layers of fears. And so we use energy work, my energy, to punch out his energy. It takes a lot of work. I'm sweating now. It's not just from being warm in the room, right? So this is the pieces that you have to work on, that you know, Thomas, that you're good enough just the way you are, with or without the newspapers. Yes?
Yes.
Say I accept.
I accept that.
That you have plenty of knowledge with or without those dead newspapers.
To the camera or to you?
Yes,
Okay.
it's fine.
I have plenty of knowledge with or without the newspapers.
Then you do not need to carry the newspapers anymore. Newspapers are like what the Bible say, it came to pass. It's history. And you've got the internet. Anything you need to access is there, it's in your mind. You don't need to hang on to old newspapers. Besides, your newspapers are not cataloged. You couldn't find it anyway if you wanted to. True or not? So you're going to say after me, I am now free from the burden of all newspapers.
I'm free from the burden of all newspapers.
I can do this.
I can do this.
I want to do this.
I want to do this.
I choose to do this.
I choose to
Now
do
tell
this.
your friends.
Okay, I'm free from the burden of the newspapers.
And what are you going to do with those newspapers?
Trash them.
Trash them.
Well,
Give 'em-
recycle.
Right, good. Give them a round of applause. Okay, that's just a very small sample of a lot of things that can happen. Sometimes I do clinical demonstrations of pain. All kinds of things can happen. Now, this cannot be learned in just one day, but it's a good start. Questions?
Yes. You got him to agree that it was fear that was holding him back.
Yes.
And the fear was, and Thomas, if I paraphrase, I was listening here. The fear was that you would lose something, some knowledge, if you got rid of those newspapers. But if it was that important to you, you would have already read the newspapers, wouldn't you have? And you said you didn't even read some of them, right? Is that kind of what you alluded to? And I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just kind of restating. And the reason I asked that question is, I work with a lot of clients with fears as well too. And fear is, that old cheesy acronym, false evidence appearing real. Most of our fears are unrealized. They're not true fears. They're concocted crap in our mind.
Well, all fears are real.
Yeah,
So
they're real
them.
in what our emotions are. But if it was a real fear of missing some knowledge there, you probably would have already read those newspapers in fear of not ever getting to read those newspapers.
Right.
So would you call a client on that? Would
Yes.
you actually say, hey,
Yes.
no, that's bullcrap. If
No,
it was
no,
that
no.
important, you would have read.
Two things, folks, I'm going to share with you. Tell the clients that their perception is their truth. Respect that. Okay? Your perception is your truth. If you think it's scary, it's scary
Yep.
to you. Not to me, but to you. So you have to gently but firmly, right? Critically but kindly guide the client to accept that truth. So it is a very fine dance we do, a balance to be tough and yet not put them over the edge. So that comes with cultivation of intuitive interview in knowing when to push and when to pull.
So if their perception of that fear is real fear, you let them to accept that for a while, but then you want to ultimately change their perspective, don't you?
I don't let them.
Uh-huh.
They have that right to feel fear.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I let them feel the fear completely before I negotiate with them that there's a better way to live. Yes? Do you
That's the
understand that,
outreaction.
Thomas?
That's the outreaction.
You
you
see,
referred
he's
to.
smiling. He's a very, look at his face.
So that's the outreaction that you referred to, is you let them have that outreaction, and then you help them to
Yeah,
change
sometimes
their
I let
perspective.
them go through it for the very last time, just in case you may miss it.
Just a slight twist on what you work with him. Suppose it's not fear. Suppose he actually wants to read it. He just hasn't got good. And a lot of people, they want to do this. They have all the intentions of doing it, but they have too many things. Their eyes are too big.
Procrastination is fear. Procrastination is fear. In fact, everything you don't feel good about is fear. It's so simple.
I'm not saying, well, okay, so you asked if you felt good about it or not.
Yeah, so if it's something that he wanted to read but he hadn't read it, something is stopping him from reading it. So the procrastination process is a result of fear. Okay. One more question. I have 1 more minute. One more question. Did you have a, yes?
This is kind of off the subject. Well, maybe not.
Be on the subject because you have 1 minute.
James Holmes, he did a heinous crime of mass murder on August the 20th. He had a master's degree studying for his PhD inside the Century 16 Theater. Why would someone be so heinous?
I can't answer that in one question. I'll take it outside. One more question.
This one's simple. If there is a person, a thing, an entity that manifests itself physically in a person, does the position of what, that mine was lower back?
Yes.
And does that position make a difference or give an idea?
Yes, yes. The position of the mass makes a difference. Where it is on the back, which side of the back, it has meaning. Quick case in point, in May when I was at the conference, I give little things people can do it. I do a 20-minute reading. And a lady came from Iceland, and I put her in the chair, I put my hand on her, and there were 2 strips. Here we have 1 strip. There were 2 strips. I immediately put my hand on and said, who are these people? And she started to cry, and her mother said she just lost twin children 4 years ago. So when we released that fear, she came back an hour later after she attended a lecture. Her mother showed me her handwriting changed. So when your energy change, your whole being change. Thank you very much. The books are samples on the table. If you'd like to acquire them, I will be here.
Actually, thank you so much. I'm going to ask something I've never asked. So please stand and please give her a standing ovation.
Oh,
please.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I want 2 minutes more of your time. Please tell us again the program you're doing, and give us 2 minutes if you can.
Yes.
That just for people that are here who may be interested.
Okay. On Saturday, if you're interested, I'm doing a full-day training on energy medicine meets hypnotherapy. I'm going to give you a primer on energy systems. You'll be able to walk away at the end of the day, be able to do some of this thing I've just done with Thomas. Of course, all the advanced skills you have to cultivate. But in a day, you'll be able to see how I combine the energy work with hypnotherapy work. And I will also be doing clinical demonstrations when I have a full day. I'll be able to work on, I think last year when we did Las Vegas, I did 3 cases in the course of a day.
And is the location set where you're going to be?
It's in Deer Valley.
You know for sure.
So where the 17 meets the 101, there's Country Inn and Suites in the North Valley.
So I need, if you plan to come, I need registration tonight because that determines whether or not I'm going to teach the class. I'm offering the class simply because I am here. And if I don't have enough people sign up, I'm not going to teach the class.
So if anyone's interested, please say.
Yeah, I'll be around here, so you can go see Steve. Where's Steve? If you want to pay for the books, the price list is on the table. I also have DVDs of me doing energy work. There's this box. If you plan to, if you're interested in my October training, I only take 9 students. I only take 9 students. It's 5 intensive days, and you get a chance to work on clients, work on each other, or watch me work on clients, and then we debrief. This set is 9 DVDs, 16 hours of footage edited to 7 hours of viewing of me doing energy medicine and hypnotherapy. This was a 2-day class I taught in Puerto Rico. And then this is a case study I did with a gentleman with MS. And the first session is 4.5 hours long, watching me work on this guy with MS and seeing the results at the end of 4.5 hours. Then he was able to move in places he couldn't move before. And then this is the follow-up session of 2.5 hours where he came back to tell about all the changes that's happened to him since the first session, and also see me do a follow-up session with him. There are 2 tapes here. 2 boxes of tapes. They are, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 DVDs here, and 1, 2, 3 DVDs. Altogether 8 DVDs here in the set. I only sell it to practitioners. So if you plan to purchase this, I want your word to please honor that these clients have given me permission to do this. Please respect that. Do not post on YouTube. These are people's private clinical tapes. that they gave me permission to share as educational tools. I trust they're all professionals. Right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we adjourn, any last minute announcements, anything people forgot to announce that they want to take a moment, otherwise we'll adjourn.
If you purchase the book, you want me to dedicate it to you, I will have my pen ready.
Official meeting's over.
Right, I want to ask her how much her course is in her hometown.
Oh.
In October. I didn't see that on the price list. So in
It's
October.
$3,500.
Okay, thank you.
You want the curriculum?
Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next month.
Thank
and,
you.
Hopefully some.
I'll be around for a few more minutes, yeah. Thank you so much. If you want me to sign your book, I'll be right here.